Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I thought while it's still fresh in my mind, I wanted to do a video about my Lakesman experience. So I done the Lakesman this year on the 21st of June. I done the bike run, so not the full half Ironman. And I just wanted to share my experience. My original plan was to film all of my training and behind the scenes of building up to it, but it wasn't really possible for me to do that because I don't film while I'm running. And I'm also not good at getting my phone out while I'm on my bike as well. So it just wasn't possible. So I just thought I'd give a recap of everything. So to start off with, we signed up for this in November 2025. And at that point, I didn't actually own a road bike. I'd never ridden on a road bike. Obviously regular bikes growing up, and when we go on holiday we sometimes rent bikes, so I can ride a bike, but a road bike is it's just different, especially when you clip it in as well. So I got my road bike on the Cycle to Work scheme, and I will show a clip of that here. So it's a specialised bike. I got that on the Cycle to Work scheme, and all the gear that goes with it. It's helmet, clothes, shoes. So I started my training, I started learning to road bike ride in January this year. So I started off by, I was really scared of riding on the roads because I didn't want to get hit by a car. So, and especially because I was learning to clip in and out still on the pedals, it's quite tricky. Because if you can't get out, then you'll just topple over. And in my head I was like, I'm going to topple under a car tyre. So I started off by literally just going up and down the wagon road, which is just almost like a mini cycle path. So it's I would just ride up, practice clipping in and practice clipping out, and just getting my balance on the bike, because the tyres are a lot thinner as well than regular bikes. So, and obviously the handlebars are different as well. So it was literally just getting used to riding the bike. And then my first practice ride was, I think it was just shy of 10 miles. It was 5 mile out to Starbucks, but that was all on cycle track as well, on the way out. And then on the way back, we went on the road, which I wasn't expecting to do on my first bike ride, but it was a really quiet back road. And like I said, it was only 5 miles, and part of that was on the cycle track. So yeah, that was a really good tester, and I was between two other people as well, so I felt safer. I didn't have to worry about signalling with my hands, because I was still struggling to even ride and take one hand off the bar, which I can do on a regular bike, so I don't know why I struggle so much with a road bike. But anyway, I was in between two people, so I felt safer, and I could just copy them where to ride. And yeah, I really wasn't prepared in terms of layers on that first ride. I just had the one long sleeve jersey and bib shorts, and I literally could not feel my toes. I struggled to drive home afterwards because my feet were so numb. So that was a steep learning curve to layer up on top, because obviously when you're running you do get warm, but when you're cycling your top half's just staying still. And yeah, your feet get so cold. So that was my very first ride, and then from there I built up, just going on cycle tracks. We'd go to a cafe and then we'd go on the road for a bit, and I just built up my distances. That was just me building up from January to March. And then in April, I think it was, we went to Mallorca. So literally after my very first ride in the January, we booked a cycling holiday, which was a bit crazy, but I did actually have a nice, I did actually enjoy riding my bike that day, on the road. So yeah, we booked a cycling holiday to Mallorca in the April. I think we just went for 3 days. And I found that really beneficial, because it's because everyone there, it's everyone's there to cycle. So you don't look weird just being out on the road, there's big groups. It felt safer. There was loads of bike lanes. Everyone's just used to cyclists on the road, because that's what people go there for. So that was a good learning curve for me for doing longer distances, doing more elevation, in the heat as well. It was much nicer training in the warmth than at home when I can't feel my toes. So yeah, that really helped me doing that. And I also started practicing doing duathlons, doing brick sessions, so which is your duathlon. I'd do a bike and then I'd get off and do a run. Oh, I also missed, we actually We did sign up for a duathlon in March, just like a small sprint duathlon, just so we had experience of doing a duathlon before the actual race day. So that was a 5k run, a 12-mile bike ride, I think, and then a 2.5k run. So it's kind of like a sandwich of cycling rather than doing a bike then a run. But again, that was good experience, even though I found it really tough, which, like, thinking about it now, like, those distances don't sound like a lot, but for my first duathlon and when I was still early days in cycling, I did like find it really hard. And obviously I was like nearly one of the last people, which we were just doing it to experience it rather than race. But again, that was also very beneficial to do because it was good experience. And even though it made me more scared for race day, because I was like, if I'm struggling to do this, how am I going to do 56 miles and a half marathon? It's all just experience. So yeah, we done that in the March and then Mallorca in April. And again, I was just slowly building up my miles as well. So my plan was to try and add on 10 miles each month to my distance to get up to 56 or maybe even 60 miles before race day, so I knew I could definitely do the distance. However, that did not end up panning out for me. So in May, we done kind of a practice run of the Lakesman route, but we kind of done it backwards in a way because the halfway point is near our house. So obviously when we set off from our house, we were setting off from the halfway, so it was kind of almost a backwards route. And the way out from halfway is mostly flat, just from Disenton Bypass to Keswick, but we stopped at Braithwaite, I think it was. We just cycled to Braithwaite instead of actually just going all the way to Keswick, just because we were tight on time anyway, and like we'd already cycled that route into Keswick, so I didn't really need to do that again. So we stopped for a coffee and then came back, which is a hillier route back, so obviously I found it tougher because I'd already got like 20 odd miles in my legs. But then instead of like doing the full route, we ended up coming a different way home, which I felt was actually harder because it was a taller hill. But all in all, it ended up being 45 miles because we didn't do the full route instead of the 56. And that ended up being my longest ride before race day and the closest to doing the full route. So that had me panicked a bit because I did have plans to do more, but I'd got ill and I was like off for 10 days, like 10 days off my training, and that was in May. So by the time I was better, it was like 3-ish weeks until the Lakesman. So I was deep in panic mode at this point. And we'd also been on holiday for a week in May, but the plan was to do training while we were away, but I got ill like literally the second day of the holiday. So I'd done one run on the first day and then that was it. So again, my plans for training were scuppered and I was getting nervous. But on Friday the 12th of June, so I think that was 1 week, just over a week before the actual race, we done part of the route again, like the Keswick to Cockermouth roundabout and back, which is like mostly the flat, fast bit. And we added on a lap of Derwentwater as well, just to build up the miles. And I think it was maybe like 36, 37 mile. But I'll show you on this, like, you'll have seen it on the Strava anyway. So we done that, and then we done a 10k run. So that was our longest duathlon practice at that point, because up until then, I'd only been getting off the bike and doing maybe 5k, a couple of mile, like not that far. Literally just practicing, like that feeling of getting off the bike and your legs, your legs feel like jelly and you have to kind of get into the rhythm of running. So even though I wasn't going far, I was just trying to get into the rhythm of getting back out and like letting your legs, like I guess maybe it's like the lactic build-up, I'm not sure, but like getting into a flow. So yeah, on the 12th of June, that was like my last big training session. And again, I found that really useful. It made me feel a lot better about the day because I felt strong when I done that. Like I could have went further. I could have went further on the bike. I was struggling on the run, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, that was probably my last big day. And then the week before the race day, I'd just done maybe a 20-mile bike ride-ish, a full body session at the gym, and then a 4-mile run. So not a lot, just keeping it going but not going too hard. and then I had 2 full days rest before the Sunday. And we camped out over in Keswick on the Saturday night for the Lakesman because we had to be like the transition point for 6. So I was up at like just after 4, except I hardly slept. I just could not fall asleep for the life of me. I had like 3 or 4 hours max of sleep. So I don't know how I got through on race day because I was cooked. But I think the adrenaline just gets you through. And it ended up being like the weather was perfect. There was like hardly any wind at all on the bike, which was what I was most nervous for, because the wind does make such a difference, like especially when you're going into a headwind on like the long stretches when you kind of just want to get your head down and go. I'm just like not a strong cyclist, so I really struggle in the wind, and especially when it's like you can feel it blowing your bike and you're like swerving. I do struggle with that. But yeah, there was hardly any wind, so that was good. And then it did actually get really warm though for the run. It was like 20 odd degrees, so I was struggling for that. I'd done the run slower than I wanted. It was about 3 hours. My half marathons in the past have been about 2 hours. My last one was 2 hours 42, so I was hoping I could either get that or quicker. But I mean, I've never done a half marathon after cycling 56 miles, so I didn't really know what to expect. The cycling I'd done in 3 hours 56, which was actually quicker than I expected, because based on all my training stats, I thought I was going to end up being like 4 hours 15, 4 hours 30, which at the briefing the day before the race, they told us that you only had, it was 5 hours, but it was 5 hours from the swim start. So we started an hour late, so which means we only had 4 hours to do it in. And the guy actually said 3 hours 50 to me, so I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a DNF on this race. I cannot do that cycling in like sub 4 hours. I didn't think I could, based on like my previous like evidence, I guess. But yeah, I got it in 3 hours 56. I kind of planned in my head where I needed, what time it had to be for the halfway point for me to not get DNF'd. So I knew if I was at the end of the bypass by 9 o'clock, I should be fine, because the second half was meant to be quicker anyway, because it's mostly flat. Although, to be honest, I did actually struggle more on the second half than the first half, which was hillier and technically should have been harder. But I think it was just maybe more of a mental thing. Like, it was just long slogs and it was just tiring. Like, I thought once I got halfway, I'd be like, right, head down, let's go. And I really struggled. It felt so long to get back, but I'd done it. I wasn't DNF'd, and I wasn't even the very last cyclist. I mean, I was 3 from the bottom, so I might as well have been, but I'm just glad I actually done it at this point. And then I started the run, I seen like loads of people were already walking, which kind of made me feel like a bit better if I wanted to walk. I was like, oh, everyone else is. And I realised it was because of the heat. Like, it was so hot. But the aid station's really good. They had like wet sponges that you could like put down your neck. There was loads of water you could pour over yourself. There was people spraying water at you. Like, they'd done really well to keep you cool down in that situation. And there was food as well, so there was chopped up bananas, there was crisps, things like sweets and gels. But I just had one bit of banana, and then I took a packet of crisps, which I was just like rationed on each lap. So there was 4 laps around Keswick, and on one of the laps it was like up and down the road 4 times. So it was quite demoralising, like, when you're just like in the sun. There was no spectators on that bit either, because all the runners took the full road. So it was just like up and down in the heat. Like, I really struggled on the run as well. But when you get to the rugby field, that's where all the spectators were to cheer you on. And that was like, that like flew by, that part of the lap. But the up and down on that road just took forever. But yeah, it was 4 laps of like 5k-ish. Yeah, all in all, it was about 7 hours, plus my transition time was like 8 or 10 minutes. So like that plus onto my 7 hours, I think. But I wasn't really rushing in the transition. Like, I know some people like go running in and running out, but I was kind of just like, right, let me just get myself together. But surprisingly, when I got off the bike, like, my legs didn't feel like jelly. Like, I got going pretty much straight away. So that was good. And like the people were really helpful, like giving you your bag, because you had to have a transition bag with all your running stuff in, which was in like a tent where you could get changed. So yeah, I got changed. I changed my top and I put sun cream on my arms. But I mean, I needn't have bothered. I burnt like all the back of my arms and my back because I was pouring water over myself. It was just washing off anyway, and like being in the sun for 3 hours, in like the height of the sun as well, in like early afternoon. I just ended up burning, but it wasn't too bad. When I finished the race, I immediately thought I'm not doing this again next year. But now, over a week later, I'm kind of thinking I want to. I feel like I'll have FOMO if I don't do it, and I do want to shave like a full hour off my time. I think I can save time on the bike, and I think I can definitely do the run quicker. Obviously, it is like conditions dependent. Like if it's really, really hot, I'm going to struggle. But then again, if it's really, really windy, I'll be slower on the bike. So I kind of just need to get stronger overall. But yeah, I would like to shave off. Oops. I would like to do it in sub 6 hours next time I do it. But overall, it was a really good day. The sign-up price is like £200 odd, I think. It's quite expensive, but based on like all the stuff you get at the aid stations, and you also get this really big backpack as well to keep. It's got loads of different compartments, and you even get to keep the transition bags, so like the bags that you put your running stuff in, and then you got a bag for the end of the race as well for when you finish. So you got to keep them. And obviously you get a winner, you get your medal, you get a t-shirt, and there was merch to buy there as well, but I didn't buy anything because I was happy with what I had. But yeah, I thought this bag was really cool. I mean, I won't wear it much because I don't really wear stuff like this, but I thought it'd be good for travelling. So yeah, my reason for making this video is I just wanted to like encourage other people, like if you don't have a bike yet, or if you just want to start a challenge, like just go for it. It's like the feeling of after you've done it, like knowing you're capable of that, makes other things feel so much easier. Like now I feel like I could just sign up for a half marathon and do that at any time because I know I can do it after a 56-mile bike ride now, so I should easily be able to do it just running just by itself. It was a really good day as well, like to have all our friends and family cheering us on was really good. So yeah, I just wanted to encourage other people to just push themselves, maybe set a challenge for themselves. And yeah, start cycling. I know everyone hates cyclists on the road, and I'd never really understood it until I started. And now I do really enjoy cycling, and I'm not too afraid of being ran over anymore, touch wood. Don't run me over, please. But yeah, if you're thinking about doing a triathlon or a duathlon, like say you don't even have to do the swim because that sounds like hell to me. But yeah, if you're thinking about it, I would just highly encourage you to do it. And if you have the cycle to work scheme where you work, then I would definitely utilise that because it makes such a big difference. And you don't have to have the fanciest bike either, like mine probably look like a dweeb bike compared to everyone else's, because it was a proper competition, like you have the people with the triathlon bikes and like what's it called, like the streamlined streamlined handlebars, and like the big discs on the wheels and all that kind of stuff. Like yeah, there are professionals doing it, but there's also like amateurs and novice people alike getting involved, and even if you do it as like part of a group, or with the Lakesman as well, you can do a relay, which I think is a really good idea. So yeah, I would just highly encourage it. And yeah, I just wanted to make this video to share my experience and hopefully encourage others to do the same. And hopefully I'll see you at Lakesman 2027, or if not then, Lakesman 2028. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.